I saw the other day you and Conor had a little tweet back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you were able to reveal about what you guys were talking about, but what exactly were you guys?
Well, when he was in Liverpool back in 2017, he was supposedly outside my house. I don't know if he was outside wanting me to come and party with them or looking a fight, but he was meant to be outside my house in the middle of the night, but he must have been at the wrong house, lad, because my mum has CCTV, lad. Obviously, if he was outside my house, that was getting videoed and put all over my Instagram. McGregor was looking for the baddie, you know who the boy is, know what I mean?
Combat sports will always require a balance of charismatic personalities, action fights, and premier talents. Paddy Pimblett has delivered in abundance in the first two categories and will take a meaningful step towards the latter should he beat Jared Gordon at UFC 282. This is just normal to me, Pimblett told CBS Sports. Another step forward in my career and legacy. It's nothing new, I knew all the attention was going to be on me anyways. Even when Glover is facing Yuri on the card, I was born to do this, lad. This is what I was meant to do. I've always envisioned this and saw this in my future. There are several parallels to draw between Pimblett and superstar Conor McGregor. Both are brash, charismatic lightweights from Europe with knockout power and legacy as Cage Warrior champions. One of UFC's most significant contributions to McGregor's rise was mindful matchmaking. McGregor was presented with challenges of increasing difficulty, but ones that accentuated his strengths and afforded him time to patch weaknesses. Chad Mendes exploited McGregor's wrestling defense in their short-notice fight at UFC 189 in 2015, but Mendes' stamina waned and McGregor ultimately turned the tide.
The lightweight division is so fun. Back in England we have Paddy Pimblett. I personally would love to see that fight. He's similar to you in that he's a polarising figure. Love him or hate him, he brings it.
He's a good kid, Paddy. The Scousers, you gotta love the Scousers. You know, my father was born in Liverpool. One side of my family is from there. So I got a lot of love for that part of the world. And who knows, I will never say no to nothing. You know what I mean? Never say never, as they say.
What the UFC calculated was a very smart bet. CBS Sports analyst Luke Thomas said on Wednesday's Morning Combat episode, what they bet on was, if he's good enough, then eventually he'll get to a point where we can avoid these fights. But if we give him just enough time on this journey up the highway, if he continues to actually work in the gym and he actually gets better, then when he gets to the point where those fights are unavoidable, he's gonna win some of them anyway. They're making some kind of similar bet on Paddy. Let's give him as much time as we can, reasonably speaking, to see where he ceilings out, and he'll get however much better he'll get in that time. We're gonna give him that, and eventually he's gonna be who he's gonna be. But while McGregor's road to the UFC lightweight title was nearly flawless, Pimblett's performances have been uneven. Both Luigi Vendramini and Rodrigo Vargas had success taking the fight to Pimblett early, but they were soon overwhelmed by Paddy's unforgiving offense and defiant heart. His win over Jordan Levitt this summer was his most promising. Pimblett avoided danger and penalized Levitt's wrestling with various choke attempts. Pimblett's next test is in the form of his most octagon experienced opponent to date. Gordon is a tough customer who has gone 7-4 in the UFC and mixed it up with the likes of Charles Oliveira, Grant Dawson, and Carlos Diego Ferreira. He makes a lot of mistakes and he has a lot of holes, and I just have to capitalize on it. Gordon told CBS Sports. But he's tricky, definitely. He throws flying stuff, flying knees, flying arm bars when he goes. He swings in bunches. With 4-ounce gloves on, one of those can put anyone out. Pimblett can exponentially increase his earnings and his reputation so long as he continues to win. There's a level of stardom that can mitigate career losses. Take McGregor for example, who's 1-3 in his last 5 years, yet remains a pay-per-view headliner. Pimblett is not there yet, but beating Gordon is a crucial step to defining himself as a cult of personality for years to come. Tito Ortiz, Chael Sonnen, McGregor, and Sean O'Malley. Many magnetic personalities have fought and talked their way into title contention, but Pimblett refuses to walk in the footsteps of those who came before him. Pimblett is just 3 fights into his career with MMA's premier promotion, but he's already one of the most popular fighters on the roster after 3 stoppage wins. However, not everyone is a fan of the charismatic Liverpudlian, and he has a fairly long-running feud with Topuria, who will face Bryce Mitchell at UFC 282. Ahead of UFC London in March, Pimblett threw a bottle of hand sanitizer at Topuria, and punches were exchanged before security stepped in to break up the scuffle. 9 months later, it's clear that the two men still don't like each other, as things once again got heated when they were in the same room to talk up UFC 282. He's obsessed with me. He hasn't stopped tweeting about me all week. He needs to sort his life out. That little bum's irrelevant, Pimblett said. I haven't seen him all week. The UFC have kept us apart because when I saw him last time, he got a hand sanitizer bottle bounced off his head. Hand sanitizer boy, you're known as hand sanitizer boy, you little mongrel. Shut up, F you. You want to talk to me man to man? I went to your country, I slapped your face. I walk like a king in your streets. Topuria responded, shut up or I'm gonna stand up and crush your face right now. The 12-0 Georgian fighter tried to physically confront his rival, but was quickly stopped by security and taunted by Pimblett, who used one of McGregor's famous phrases. What'll you do? You'll do nothing. Go and sit back down, sit back down. Notorious made "you'll do nothing" a famous MMA phrase back in 2016 when he was arguing with Nate Diaz ahead of their rematch at UFC 202. The 34-year-old told Diaz "you'll do nothing" as he exited the press conference due to his rival's tardiness before both men started flinging water bottles at each other. McGregor, who's widely regarded as MMA's biggest star ever, is set to make his eagerly anticipated return to fighting in 2023 after a long injury layoff. Paddy Pimblett has been told UFC superstar Conor McGregor has a much better skill set despite their comparisons. The rising star has fought 3 times in the UFC, winning all 3 of his outings while generating a huge profile for himself both domestically and stateside. In his latest outing, Pimblett will return to the octagon looking for a 4th consecutive win against hard hitter Jared Gordon at UFC 282 in Las Vegas tomorrow night. Throughout the early stages of his career, Pimblett has faced comparisons to UFC superstar McGregor, who shot to fame for his early finishes and brash-talking personality. But former 2-weight champion Henry Cejudo believes that Pimblett is a level below McGregor in terms of his UFC capabilities. As much as I give Conor McGregor a bunch of stuff, his skill set is a lot better than this guy, Cejudo said when breaking down a video of Pimblett's fight highlights on his YouTube channel. I like Paddy, I think he brings a lot of publicity to the UFC, but he's not at that level. McGregor made a remarkable rise in the sport, which saw him become 2-weight champion in 2016, while becoming the most talked about and watched star on the UFC roster. Pimblett is making a similarly fast rise and has frequently earned comparisons to the Irishman, while being thrust into a potential mega fight with his counterpart. A potential showdown between the pair seems unlikely given McGregor's planned weight switch to 170, but Pimblett has stated if the pair do touch gloves in the future that it will likely become the biggest pay-per-view in history. He said it would be the biggest pay-per-view that the UFC has ever seen. Like to put it that way. Goes without saying, but I think when Conor comes back, he'll be fighting at 170. Pimblett has no doubt that a fight between him and Conor would be the highest selling in UFC history. Former UFC dual-weight champion McGregor remains the sport's biggest star and highest draw, but Pimblett has emerged as one of the most popular fighters on the roster. He thinks that fighting Conor would inevitably do historic numbers. It would be the biggest pay-per-view the UFC has ever seen. Pimblett told ESPN. That mark currently belongs to another McGregor fight, his 2018 showdown with Khabib Nurmagomedov, which did approximately 2.4 million pay-per-view buys. One thing standing in the way of a potential future fight between Pimblett and McGregor could be a change in division for McGregor. I think when Conor comes back, he'll be fighting at 170, Pimblett said. He'll struggle to make 155, now to be honest. He's looking big, but I respect Conor, you know what I mean? What he's done for the sport, he's done a lot more than most of the people that have done the sport, and I think he gets a bad rep, like he doesn't get the respect he deserves.